Extreme Rules 2019, live from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, is in the books. A show that really was an interesting show in the sense that there was a lot of really good in-ring action. I don't know if this was WWE's answer to AEW and New Japan by taking some of their best wrestlers and letting them work really, really hard tonight, because there were a lot of really good in-ring matches, even though the storylines going into this show I felt were really, really lame, and none of them really clicked for me at all. There was no angle going into this show that I was really invested in, but it wound up being a newsworthy show because the show ended with Brock Lesnar cashing in his Money in the Bank and defeating Seth Rollins in a match after his match to win back the Universal title that he lost at WrestleMania. So presumably we're going to see Lesnar and Seth Rollins at SummerSlam for the championship, which makes sense. It'll probably be some kind of gimmick match, but that'll be the third match in their series, in 2019 series anyways. They had a few matches back in 2017. And of course, don't forget that, no, not 2017, I'm sorry, 2015. And don't forget that awesome three-way at Royal Rumble with Lesnar, Seth Rollins, and John Cena. That I love that match. Go back and watch that match if you haven't seen it in a while. They tore the house down, those three guys. But anyways, Lesnar wins the belt again, and a lot of people are not happy about this. I saw a bad response because it means that once again we're back to the championship not really being defended on television, or even worse, the belt not being defended on TV is one thing, but we're not even going to see the champion that much. But I think that going into SummerSlam, we will, because they have to build up that match. Now that Lesnar is back, they're going to have to really build up that Lesnar versus Seth Rollins match for SummerSlam. One thing I will say is that if Lesnar's going to come back, I really hope that he has his working boots on. The dude can really wrestle really well. He's a tremendous wrestler, but he never gets the chance to because for the past 2.5 years, he's been doing nothing but these short matches where he has 6-7 moves. I would like to see him really, really work. And I mean he's shown it, because we've seen his great matches with Daniel Bryan. Finn Balor was a pretty good one. Of course, the AJ match, Survivor Series. I want him and Seth Rollins to have a match of that caliber. And we know he can do it. I mean, if you're out there, if you don't like Lesnar, you know he can do it. I mean, we've seen him do it. Don't forget that great CM Punk match he had back at, SummerSlam 2013. I mean, the dude can have good matches. He has had many of them. So I hope that this time they get more time when they do Seth versus Lesnar. But overall, I didn't think it was really a terrible end to the show or anything. I mean, it was going to happen at some point. It just made sense to happen here. Earlier in the night, they actually teased it with Heyman coming out, cutting a promo saying that it's going to happen, but am I telling the truth or am I being Paul Heyman, which is, of course, a reference to the fact that Heyman's one of the biggest liars in the history of wrestling. That's what a lot of the wrestlers have said that have worked with him. So, he's kind of poking fun at himself. But he did cut a great promo in Philadelphia, of course, the home of ECW. There was an ECW chant tonight during the Lashley Strowman match, which was surprising because after WWE killed ECW, the brand, dead in 2006 and 2007, I never thought we'd hear an ECW chant again. I thought those fans, those original ECW fans had moved on way years ago, but I thought even the casual WWE audience was kind of tainted by that ECW. Well, they chanted it at least once tonight, to my recollection. Now, what was interesting is the show actually opened with The Undertaker teaming with Roman Reigns against Shane McMahon and Drew McIntyre. I will say that I missed part of the pre-show. The Gulak and Tony Nese match was too short. Same thing with, or from what I heard from Finn Balor and Nakamura. So I'm going to start with the main show. Undertaker and Roman Reigns opened the show. Again, big surprise. Was not expecting them to actually open the show against Shane McMahon and Drew McIntyre. Good match, good ending. Undertaker came back from everything and did this great babyface comeback. He hit Shane with a choke slam, and then Roman threw Shane into him and he hit a tombstone. Taker looked really, really good. This match was way, way better than that Goldberg match. I mean, that Goldberg match was, an abortion. I'd hate to say it, but it's true, and I'm not picking on those guys, but Goldberg is just, I don't know, man, but I respect the guy, but, time and a place. And speaking of which, the commentary discussed Taker kind of being close to the end and saying, you might want to see him when you can, folks, because this is going to be the end. So it's almost like they're kind of building or teasing a retirement tour, in that Taker is wrestling again, but we're not going to see him wrestle that often. They've been teasing this man's retirement for, years. I mean, years they've been teasing it. And I think it will be a big deal when it happens. I think that a good idea for it to happen, if it won't be at WrestleMania, would be at Survivor Series next year, to Survivor Series 2020, because it'll be then 3 decades of destruction. He debuted at Survivor Series 1990, 3 decades of destruction, and that's a pretty cool little way to promote it. But anyways, him and Roman looked good, and so did Drew McIntyre. I think they're probably going to do Drew McIntyre and The Undertaker at some point. Probably with Taker putting him over, I would hope. But overall, the match was a good, feel-good opener. Taker fans were going to love it, and I thought it went well. There were a few other good matches on the show. The Revival against the Usos was, good work, but I wasn't into the story. It's one of the worst storylines in the company. I just can't get into the storyline at all. The work is good, though, so you can't knock the work, and these guys definitely worked hard. Bayley versus Nikki Cross and Alexa was not into that match. Braun Strowman and Bobby Lashley was your, Philadelphia street fight brawl type match, and it ended with this awesome power slam from the risers down, and then Strowman walked up, so he won the last man standing. That was good. Now, as far as good matches go, that's pretty much where it ends. Everything else was good to great. Now, I will say this before going on to what I really liked about the show. Kofi, Kingston, Samoa Joe, the show was running long and the crowd wasn't too much into it, but I thought it was a good sort of, it was a good TV match. It just was not what I was expecting. Joe and Kofi Kingston, and I was really thinking that Joe would get a bigger reaction because a big chunk of his career was in that Northeast area for Ring of Honor. They love that guy in that area, and it was fine, but I think they can do better, and I think they will do better. It's just, Kofi won again, and it's like, I'm glad that Kofi's getting a serious title run, but Samoa Joe can't win a feud, can he? He lost the Lesnar feud, lost the Roman feud, lost the AJ feud. Like, when has this guy won an actual meaningful feud? And it's like, all right, whatever. Now, as far as interesting things in the show, Dolph Ziggler, Kevin Owens, so they had this thing where they were talking about how Dolph is kind of a loser and he needs to get more wins, which is kind of meta there because he hasn't really been a winner since the Alberto feud back in 2013. And Kevin Owens beat him in like 15 seconds with a stunner. It was they're doing something with Ziggler with him losing like this. It looks like Owens is getting a babyface push, but it's just one of those things where he's cutting a promo on Shane McMahon, but we just saw Shane McMahon get decimated by The Undertaker, right, earlier in the show. So his promo had less impact. So the reason why is because, number one, we've already seen the Kevin Owens Shane McMahon feud a couple of years ago. Remember when Daniel Bryan got in, they had that blow off at WrestleMania? So we've already seen that. And then number two, we just saw Shane get destroyed by Taker. So, for the tombstone. So for all intents and purposes, Shane should be off TV for months now. I mean, they're not going to do it because they love having Shane on TV. He eats up TV time like what Kevin Owens said. But man, he got tombstoned by The Undertaker. The way that's supposed to, if you're a non-wrestler, not a wrestler, and you get tombstoned by Taker, you should be out at least a month, right? That would really put that move over. And he should be. But they're going to segue into a Kevin Owens Shane McMahon feud that I do not want to see. I have no interest at all in seeing that feud. Now, what was good about the show? Real good. Okay, this was a thumbs in the middle show, but there was a lot of good in-ring wrestling, like I said. And what you should go see is you need to see Aleister Black and Cesaro. I feel like this is WWE's answer to AEW and New Japan. Okay, you got some great workers. Both companies have great workers. Hell, even, Ring of Honor, TNA, NXT, they've all got great workers, even though NXT is WWE, so does Evolve. But WWE's main roster has some really good workers, and they showed it here. This Aleister Black Cesaro match was, totally different. It really felt like something, like a different match. So I don't want to say an independent match, but it felt like something from a different company. Less restrictions. There was more, European style wrestling here. This is what I want to see. This is what WWE needs to give us, more of a variety of styles. And Cesaro and Black can do it, and man, did they have chemistry. This is going to be one of those things where I really, really want to see these guys have more matches. Please give us more matches. Heavy Machinery, Xavier Woods and Big E, The New Day, and Daniel Bryan and Rowan for the SmackDown Tag Titles. Really, really good stuff here. I mean, Daniel Bryan, I don't have to put over him as a wrestler. Everybody listening to this right now, if you don't think Daniel Bryan's one of the best in the world, you have a really bad opinion about the business. He's always great. He was great here. Big E and Daniel Bryan had such good chemistry. It's like I want to see these guys have a one-on-one feud. I've been waiting for them to pull the trigger on Big E's singles push, and instead they went with Kofi, which is surprising because Big E's a big dude and they love the big guys. But the work, I thought it was great. I thought everybody worked hard. Even Heavy Machinery, who's kind of a joke tag team, they did really, really well in this match. And then right after that, we got Ricochet and AJ for the U.S. title. I liked the match. I liked the match a lot. I think they can do better. I do think this is just the beginning of their feud. There was, of course, interference with Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, which is kind of funny because AJ just turned heel, and his whole thing is, I don't need these guys to win. I didn't join up with them to help me win, and of course, they helped him win. So he's going to be playing that, that heel liar kind of character, which I think works because that's kind of what he did when he was in the Bullet Club in Japan with those guys. It was a kind of a similar character, and I'm glad they're bringing that back for AJ. I was hoping for something like amazing, and it was good. It was my second favorite match on the show behind Cesaro and Black, and I think it was effective. I think I liked them a lot. So if you're gonna watch this show, watch the tag team title match, the 3-way, watch the Black Cesaro, and watch this match. Now, one last thing I want to talk about here, and that is the main event. Seth and Becky against Baron Corbin, Lacey Evans. Now, obviously, like I said, Brock cashed in on Seth. Seth won the match. The finish was really good because it actually showed more character and fire in Seth Rollins. Basically, Corbin hit the end of days on Becky, who's his girlfriend. He snaps and beats him up with a chair, does 3 curb stomps and pins him. So that's the end of that feud. We are done with Seth Rollins and Baron Corbin, and thank goodness. I don't understand. Dude, okay, let me explain something about wrestling. Look, there's 2 different kinds of heat in pro wrestling. There's good heat and bad heat. Baron Corbin has no good heat. Nobody wants to see Baron Corbin on TV. And I mean nobody. I haven't talked to a single wrestling fan who likes to see Baron Corbin being pushed this hard. He's not a main eventer, but they keep pushing him in as a main eventer. They had him humiliate Kurt Angle. They do all these things to get this guy over, and he doesn't have that I want to see him lose heat. If he had that, the last time we kind of saw it was in the Kurt Angle match that he wound up winning. He doesn't have that. He has go away heat, which is the kind of heat you don't want. He has the heat where it's like the fans don't want to see this dude on TV. They don't want to see him pushed. I don't mind him being on the mid card. He's kind of a goofy, heel. I don't mind him being on the card, but man, at this point, I do mind him being on the card. I'm so sick of them pushing Baron Corbin. Nobody cares about Baron Corbin. These past 3 months, or even more, 6 months, have been painful to see this guy on TV, and they know he's a ratings killer, and yet they keep pushing him, and then they want to sit there and complain about their ratings and hire Heyman and Bischoff because they're worried about the stockholders being upset at the, at the declining audience on television, right? But it's like, dude, you're driving them away. You're pushing Baron Corbin, and now you're pushing Lesnar, who you pretty much educated your audience into thinking that he's not going to come back, that he doesn't care about them, etc., which could work because he's a great heel and a great worker. But he's a guy who a lot of the fans are also sick of because he was on top for so long, and they built up this huge thing for Roman to beat him. Roman didn't beat him at WrestleMania. Then he beat him at SummerSlam in a terrible, terrible flat finish. Then Roman, got sick, which, I'm glad he's okay. And then they once again bring Brock back, have Seth put him over, and now he's back again. Now, I'm all right with them bringing Brock in, but they've got to let the dude work. But at the very least, Brock has a presence. At least we know that he's, he has Heyman with him. He's a great wrestler. Even though they don't give him the chance to be, he can be a great professional wrestler. Corbin is just not a top guy. He's not. Lacey Evans showed a lot of good athleticism here. She's a good athlete. And she's, to me, it's too soon to put her in this spot. She just debuted a few months ago, and I know they really like her, but it's way, way, way too soon. For Corbin, it's like, dude, you need to, really go away. He needs to go on TV and start putting over guys. That's what he needs to do, because he is not warranting his push, in my opinion. But the match itself was fine. There was some kendo stick stuff. It was kind of whatever. It was fine. It wasn't great. The Lashley-Strowman match earlier had most of the gimmicks. They did a lot more earlier. What was dumb about the match is they kept doing the It was really dumb. They were doing the like the mixed tag rules, not the intergender rules. So women can only attack women and men can only attack men. And then of course a man attacks a woman, which is what gets Seth Rollins angry. But it's one of those things where it's like with a match with Extreme Rules that doesn't work, because you're trying to fit these guidelines, like A must wrestle A, B must wrestle B, but if it's Extreme Rules, why does the referee have to enforce it? That was dumb. Like, that's dumb, dude. This main event was dumb, and if it wasn't for Lesnar being able to cash in at the end of the night, I would have put, I don't know, maybe Kofi and Samoa Joe in the main event or something else, you know. Definitely, maybe even Taker and Roman, you know what I'm saying, to send the fans home happy. But this was dumb, like goodness, like get Baron off TV. Lacey can stay because she's good, or get him not off TV, but you know, get him out of the main event picture, which I think he is out. Now we have Seth and Brock. It's still not as interesting as I had hoped it would be, but let's see where it goes. Now, I'll tell you what, I'm going to be really irritated if Brock beats Seth, which leads to Roman beating Brock. Like, again? I don't want to see that again. I'm just done with that feud. I'm done with Roman and Brock. I'm done with it. Done. Even though they have had good chemistry, don't get me wrong. They've had some good matches. No more. No more. I think Seth and Brock will be fine next month. I hope it will be. I don't want it to be another 7-minute match. I want it to be good, and I want Lesnar to put on his working boots again. But I'd rather have Lesnar as champion than have Baron Corbin as champion. I'm being real with you. It just, the thing dragged. So, but again, the last few minutes were okay. Anyways, that is it for my review of Extreme Rules. 2 or 3 must-see matches. Everything else is like, whatever. If you want to see the cash-in, he just comes in and hits a couple suplexes and an F5, and that was it. It wasn't like it was anything crazy or anything crazy brutal, but, well, we're back to see what happens on TV. But we got Raw Reunion coming up in a few weeks, so that should be a fun show, because whenever they bring out the legends, it's always a good time. Anyways, thank you again for watching this review here on World of Geekdom, and I love you guys. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll talk to y'all real soon. Got some movie reviews coming up in the next few days for several films I'm going to see, or I have already seen here on the channel, so enjoy that. Love you guys, and I'll see you soon.